So, Arma 3 is turning 10 years old in September of this year. Did you know that GTA 5 first released in the same week as Arma 3? Does that make you kind of feel old yet? Today, we are going to take a look at an upcoming Creator DLC, or CDLC, for Arma 3 called Spearhead 1944. With a title like that, it is no surprise that this is the first CDLC for Arma set during World War II, more specifically set during Operation Cobra in late July of 1944. You can find a link to it down in the description below the video. These Creator DLCs are created by members of the community with the idea to provide Arma 3 players with new and exciting high-quality content at a fair price. Bohemia has a pretty good track record when it comes to selecting and approving these CDLCs, seeing as 4 of them have been released, with 3 out of the 4 having pretty great ratings, ones that I personally mostly agree with. The one outlier, however, that did receive a largely negative rating, Bohemia actually publicly apologized for and offered free refunds on, no questions asked. I myself am very interested in World War II, and I've spent thousands of hours inside Arma 3 alone playing with different World War II mods. It is honestly great to see an official World War II DLC finally becoming reality. Spearhead 1944 will come with a 150 square kilometer map based on Normandy, covering the area from Saint-Lô to Rancy and Le Grand at 1:2 scale. To put the size of the map into perspective, here you can see Arma 3's Livonia map overlaid on the Chernarus map from Arma 2. Livonia is 163 square kilometers, whereas Chernarus is about 225-ish square kilometers. This new map will come with the famous hedgerows that litter the French countryside, fortifications, defensive positions, as well as new era-specific custom-created buildings. Something I really liked in the SOG Vietnam CDLC was the co-op campaign. Spearhead 1944 promises to go a step further, and it takes the max number of players in their co-op campaign from the 14 we saw in SOG to 24 in Spearhead. In 7 voiced-over missions, you will engage the Germans playing as the American 2nd Armored Division, pushing through the bocage. Missions will have players be able to pick from a wide variety of roles, from regular infantry and medics to tank crews and flamethrower operators. Also, each mission has some replayability as well, with players voting on different tactical choices and options that will influence the roles available to you, as well as the way you approach the objectives in every mission. What's interesting is that there will not be just 2 factions at release, but actually 5. The Americans, the Germans, the French Liberation Army, and then the French Interior Forces / partisans, as well as civilians. The CDLC will come with 31 vehicle variants, which include some of the following for the Americans: the M3 half-track, the M10 tank destroyer, the M18 Hellcat, the M4 Sherman in different variants like a Calliope rocket launcher, as well as a 76mm upgun version, and the P-47 Thunderbolt. For the Germans, you can expect to see the 250-1 half-track, the Opel Blitz in a bunch of variants, Panzer III J, L, M, and N variants, the Panzer IV G and H1. Of course, the famous Tiger tank has to make an appearance, as well as the Nashorn tank destroyer, which is basically equipped with the same gun that you'd also see in the Yak Panther and King Tiger, and last but not least, also a Focke-Wulf 190 F8. Now, this is not a full list, but just wanted to mention some of the cool ones that were on there. Now, it's also not mentioned, but historically speaking, the French Liberation Army used a ton of different vehicles and equipment, and personally, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some American or perhaps even captured German vehicles with French insignia in the game. Whether we are to expect any civilian vehicles with potential partisan variants is unknown at the moment. Though their list for the vehicles was quite extensive, there isn't sadly one for the weapons and equipment, but it kind of makes sense when you look at some of the numbers. There are over 200 uniform variants, as well as 60 plus vests, 70 plus backpacks, and over 150 helmets, hats, and headgear variants, as well as a ton of accessories and 30 plus weapons. So they can't name everything, but they do have a short list of a couple of items like the M1 Garand, the M1A1 Thompson, and the M2 Flamethrower, as well as the 57mm anti-tank gun, 81mm mortar, the M45 quad mount 50 caliber, as well as rifle grenades, Willie Pete grenades, and more. The Germans will have access to the famous MG42 and STG44, as well as the Flamethrower 41. Furthermore, the Flak 36 and 38, as well as the Pak 40 and 10.5cm light howitzer will be available, but this is in no way, shape, or form the entire list. Some specific French partisan and French Liberation Army equipment is actually mentioned mention here, which includes both a suppressed and unsuppressed STEM Mark II submachine gun and the FM24-29 light machine gun. All of the above is physical content. Besides that, there will also be a few so-called gameplay enhancements, some of them which are pretty neat and I'll look at here below, but again, this is not the entire list. First of all, Spearhead will introduce a morale system for AI, leading some of them to actually retreat, drop their weapons, or even completely surrender. It's stated that POWs can be questioned about where enemy troops are located, though I'm not sure if this will require setup or if this actually just works on the fly in, say, a mission hosted by Zeus. Something I look forward to is the extended reload animations, meaning that reloading a gun after firing a single round versus reloading a gun after expending the entire magazine will most likely look different. This will include even top-loading bolt-action rifles, where after, say, if you fire 2 or 3 rounds, instead of always seeing the soldier put 5 new rounds in, he only puts the rounds in that were expended. AT guns can be towed as well as pushed around by hand, allowing these to be repositioned without needing to roleplay while asking Zeus to move it inside of missions. Machine guns, such as the MG42, will also be able to only really be fired from the hip, though it is said that they can be shouldered at a penalty, which will increase the longer it is done, probably to simulate the heavy weight of these weapons. Also, similar to Tarkov, for example, your weapon's length will have an impact. Trying to clear a house with a full-size bolt-action rifle will just be harder than when you do it with a submachine gun, as the weapon you're using will be raised if it interacts with a wall or even an enemy soldier. This again promotes the use of appropriate weapons for clearing close quarters. There's still a lot to discover about Spearhead 1944, and I am very excited to do a video down the line showcasing all the content at release in a basic review/overview style video. Some of the existing CDLCs for Arma have actually been updated multiple times since their initial releases with tons of content for free. Though this act of releasing new content for free with updates isn't necessarily a guarantee, it is very possible that Spearhead 1944 will do the same. Again, the following is pure speculation on my behalf. I do not have any prior knowledge or insight into what will happen to Spearhead 1944 post the 1.0 release. With that being said, there are a few things the developers could definitely consider adding, some more historically accurate than others. First of all, Operation Cobra didn't happen in a vacuum, but it happened in conjunction with 3 other operations: Goodwood, Atlantic, and Spring. Without going into too much historical detail in this video, these 3 operations saw British and Canadian forces engage with German forces around the city of Caen and the Verrier Ridge. Seeing more equipment such as Fireflies or Cromwells, Commonwealth small arms such as the Lee Enfields, Bren guns, or the Stens, and they're technically already in Spearhead given to the French factions, as well as just Commonwealth uniform and gear would obviously be a great addition. Furthermore, Band of Brothers really popularized paratroopers during D-Day, but Spearhead takes place over a month and a half after the initial invasion. The American 82nd and 101st Airborne were both recalled for R&R while preparing for the next pair drop. However, the British Airborne definitely saw combat both during the initial landings on and right after June 6th, and actually also later in early to mid-August. Now, neither the American or British Airborne units historically made an appearance anywhere near St. Lo as far as I can find, but they definitely have a lot of historical appeal, and I think would be a great addition to the Spearhead CDLC nonetheless. When talking about Operation Cobra, there was, however, a contingent of the German 5th Parachute Division present. An interesting historical note, this was actually the last Fallschirmjäger unit to be formed that actually received somewhat, if not a full paratrooper training. This would open the way to add the famous FG-42 rifle, as well as some obviously specific Fallschirmjäger uniforms, helmets, and gear. Furthermore, special weapons such as the Leichtgeschütz 40 or the 88mm Raketenwerfer 43 could also be added to bolster their AT capabilities. I would like to stress again that what I just said is pure speculation based on my own thoughts and ideas, and none of this is confirmed to come to the Spearhead CDLC in the future. Whether we will see the Commonwealth, Allied, and German airborne units, or perhaps entirely new maps based on the Normandy beaches is something we'll have to find out down the line. For now, I can say that I am very excited to finally see some official World War II content to be made for Arma 3, which means it'll hopefully be of a high quality, seeing as 3 of the 4 previous CDLCs definitely made true on that promise. Now, what do you think? Let me know down in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next one.